What fictional character do you feel bad for the most? Any character that loses their glasses. Then while they are crawling on the ground looking for them, the glasses get broken. I have no idea why, but that moment always makes me feel worse than most other things. Why is everyone so mean to Charlie Brown? Also, Courage the Cowardly Dog had to put up with a lot of BS. The girl squirrel from the Sword in the Stone animated film. If you haven't seen it, the protagonist Arthur gets magically turned into a squirrel and a girl squirrel falls in love with him. When Arthur got turned back into a human and left her all heartbroken and crying, it genuinely upset me. As a young kid, it was one of my first experiences of feeling real pity, and it's stuck with me ever since. The Little Match Girl. She is homeless, starving, freezing, and lonely. Then she dies. Goofy. I'm sure anyone around 30 or so who has seen the Goofy movie understands exactly what I mean. Faramir. I always feel bad for him when I rewatch the LOTR trilogy for the umpteenth time, the extended edition to boot, which tells more of Faramir's story. All the kids that go to Hogwarts when HP went there. Crap, man. I'm just trying to create a potion that will make broccoli taste like chocolate. Now I gotta fight a war with giant snakes, racist wizards, and crap. I felt bad for Jerry from Parks and Rec until it was revealed he has a massive peen and a hot wife. Any citizen in the same city as a superhero. At some point, that crap has to get old. Honey, an evil villain is going to release toxic gas at 5 PM if Pickleman doesn't surrender himself. Are the gas masks in the kitchen cabinet or in the RV? Edited to add, I legit pulled Pickleman out of my ass and didn't know it was a real thing. Sorry for the unintentional reference. The Cabbage Cart Guy. Butters, this poor kid is always manipulated by his friends and grounded for everything. I always felt bad for poor old Edward Scissorhands. His pop died before giving him real hands. John Coffey from the Green Mile. Major Harry Potter spoilers. George Weasley. I honestly believe that killing off just one of the Weasley twins, killing both. Klaus from the Umbrella Academy. Literally gets kidnapped and tortured for like 2 days without any of his siblings noticing. Also brought up seeing dead people, which would obviously screw up any child. Was locked in a cemetery for hours, etc. No one really cared about him and just saw him as this stoner and couldn't see the whole time he's basically calling out for help. Also Dave. Jack screamed in Titanic. Imagine. You sneak onto a world-class cruise with your best friend in the whole world, only for him to completely ignore you for a mediocre girl, only for you to freaking die when the ship sinks. Uncle Iroh. Compared to other fictional characters, he didn't go through that much, but damn, they make his pain feel so intense. Loses his son and then gets shamed for quitting because of it. Rickety Cricket. Doofenshmirtz. Or the Clone Troopers. Jess Pinkman. Eeyore. Depression sucks. Todd in the episode of Community where they divide into study groups. No offense. The Squirrel in Ice Age. Poor fellow just wants his Akon. Ice King from Adventure Time. All the man wants is someone to love. I mean, yes, he is going about it in the worst way possible, but still, all he has is his penguins. Edit. Thanks for the awards. The brother and sister from the Grave of the Fireflies. That one lady who gets picked up by the pterodactyls in Jurassic World and then almost drowns before getting picked up again, only to be eaten by a mosasaurus. All she did was say her fiance couldn't have a bachelor party. Squidward. Frodo. He ends up burnt out with severe PTSD, a missing finger, lasting blade venom and spider bite toxic shock. His achievements are unknown in the Shire. He remains a casualty of the War of the Ring. Herschel Green in the Walking Dead comic. Lost his eldest kids to walkers. Goes to the prison. Youngest kids get beheaded, and then during the attack on the prison, his last son gets shot and killed as they are trying to escape. Gives up on life and begs to be killed. There are so many characters you could say the same for, but I'm currently rereading it, and his character is among the most tragic. Teddy from Westwood. Poor guy has been treated like crap by everyone. Mace Hoos. R.I.P. Hoos. Tom Robinson from To Kill a Mockingbird. Azula. Don't get me wrong, I still hate her guts, but her and Zuko are examples of how crappy parenting can differently frick up your kids. Will from Stranger Things. His childhood is ruined by traumatic events, and when he finally comes back his friends are too busy being in love to care. Luigi, poor guy just wants to be treated as an equal to his brother, but he's always seen as player 2. Not right, not fair. Ocarina of Time Link, poor dude lived a tragedy. Woodhouse the butler from Archer, treated like crap throughout the whole series by pretty much everyone, missed out on his last chance to see his brother because of his asshole boss, reduced to living in an empty pool, used as an online prostitute, then died off screen a penniless and unloved heroin addict. Tom from Tom and Jerry, edit, wow, a lot of updates and Jerry hate. Alucard from Castlevania. The monster from Frankenstein, the novel. Greater than sign exclamation mark. The monster is born, and Frankenstein immediately runs away because he made him too ugly. Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. He ended up truly caring about Quill and the others. He sacrificed himself to ensure the safety and well-being of the others. I also loved that he called Groot Twig. I cried when he died. John Marston. John. His wife and his young son lived life on the run in an outlaw gang. It begins to tear itself apart under the pressure of Pinkerton detectives. Spoilers ahead. He's left for dead by the gang's leader. But John pulls through with the help of his dying friend. He sees a chance for his family to run and try to live straight. And they do. John takes up legal work as a ranch hand and a bounty hunter. He gets bank loans approved and now has the money to build a house and barn on a property of his own. John and his wife have the official wedding they never had. He had time to spend with his son and be the dad he never could be before. And the loans get paid off. Life was good until the Pinkertons arrived. They held his wife and son captive. In exchange for their release, they make John hunt down the remaining gang members. One by one he does. Finally taking down his old gang leader with help from the US Army. John rode back to his farm and family. His old outlaw days truly buried in the past. Weeks later the army soldiers and Pinkertons converged on John's farm and opened fire. It was now his turn. His family fought their way to their barn, and at John's request they escaped on horseback. John left the barn to face the men, and he was cut down in a hail of gunfire. GIF. Sirius Black. Mrs. Everdeen from the Hunger Games. She loses her husband in a mine explosion, then almost loses Katniss in the Hunger Games twice, and then Prim dies another explosion. Really mostly any second-born child of a royal family, cause the first one this is my heir they shall inherit the throne, and the second one it's like oh and this Bob, and then wonder why Bob is such a mess. Thomas from the Maze Runner series of novels. That kid is put through a ridiculous amount of emotional and physical trauma, only to have everything he's ever done be destroyed by himself. Fry's dog, Seema. Megamind. The dude with the ice cream in Lilo and Stitch. Neville Longbottom. His parents are alive, but were tortured into insanity by Bellatrix when he was a baby. He never mentions them, and there's only one scene in the books where Harry gets a proper glimpse into Neville's life. During a visit to the street, Mungo's hospital, Neville's parents are completely lost and don't even seem to recognize their son. I just find it incredibly poignant that what is ostensibly a comic relief character has such a tragic backstory, but in spite of that, in the face of deadly adversity, overcomes his fears and becomes a hero. Anakin Skywalker. Zuko. He turned out better for his experience, but that shouldn't have to have happened. Rue. The Ender Dragon. Imagine being the last of your kind and pregnant. Then some random dude comes to your home and slaughters you. Imagine being infinitely reborn by 4 crystals that were supposed to keep you alive, only to be slaughtered again and again, forever. The fish from SpongeBob who is always hurting his leg. Like, at this point it's not just a series of coincidences. It's a full-blown curse, as whenever his leg recovers it is injured almost immediately after. When will the final injury ensue, and he will be forced to amputate? Will we ever know? His life is a perpetual chain of events resulting in pain and suffering that cannot be stopped. Neville from Harry Potter. He is bullied by his peers, his grandma, his parents are in a mental ward, and on top of that his teacher in year 4 for defense against the dark arts was one of the people who put in parents in the mental ward. He is tortured and beaten by Death Eaters, and the cherry on top, he had to lead a rebellion in Hogwarts by himself. Stress LVL 20. Meg Griffin from Family Guy. Her family is insanely neglectful and abusive. She's bullied by everyone for no reason, and it seems like the universe just hates her. It's why she was one of the 3 characters whose name is part of the character trope titled Megwood the Wizard. Helga from Hey Arnold. Probably Captain Rex. He spent 3 years fighting for the wrong side without even knowing, until it was too late. Then all his brothers turned on him, and his one friend through it all was Ahsoka, who he had to say goodbye to, not knowing Anakin or Obi-Wan's fate, but knowing that all of his clone friends had turned evil or died. Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Fitz and Simmons from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They always seem to be dealt a bad hand during their lives as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. I mean, across 6 seasons they've both been chucked into an ocean by a guy they thought was their friend. Simmons has been stranded on an alien planet. Fitz has suffered a brain injury and faced the mental trauma of the pain he committed in a simulation when the computer rewrote his life to be an evil Hydra, basically an artsy doctor, which led to a complete mental breakdown where he started envisioning the Hydra version of himself from the simulation. And they've both spent significant portions of time grieving over people/each other who they thought were dead. Plankton. Celia Foot from The Help. She broke my heart. Anakin Skywalker. All he cared about was keeping Patton safe, and when he needed help with it the most, the GD just told him to let his attachments go and accept that she would die. So he makes a deal with the Star Wars equivalent of the devil to save his wife, and it costs him everything until all he has left is the attachment he has to Sidus. Rickon Stark. Ted from Scrubs. The hospital sad sack. Buffy Summers. After saving the world repeatedly, her mom died of a brain aneurysm, and the scene when she finds the body always makes me cry. Everyone that had to support that freeloading piece of crap Grandpa Joe. Jerry from Parks and Recreation. Cassandra. Cursed to tell only true prophecies, but never be believed. Foresees the fall of Troy and the realization that her own wedding can never come to be. Fictional character I feel bad for the least is Earwiker in Finnegan's Wake, with his endlessly recurring nightmare apparently triggered by a past experience when he was arrested for peeping at crapping prostitutes. Darth Vader. A slave from birth. Slave boy. Slave to the whims of the GD. Slave to the Senate. Encaged in a suit of darkness. Filled with rage and regret and hate. Manipulated from birth because he wanted to save his loved ones. Charlie Bucket because his grandfather, Grandpa Joe, spent 20 years bedridden, all while Charlie and his mother slaved to take care of, cook, fetch tobacco, and feed him. Once Charlie won a golden ticket, Grandpa Joe immediately jumped out of bed, literally dancing, because he realizes this is his chance to get rich at the expense of someone else. Charlie. The remainder of the movie involves Grandpa Joe promoting stealing, blindly signing contracts without reading the fine print, as well as drinking and disobeying the factory owner's behavior requirements. Long story short, Grandpa Joe is the biggest, fattest piece of crap on the planet. Toby Flenderson. Meg Griffin. Has no one mentioned The Giving Tree? Come on, we all know it's Hodder. Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul. Alexei, the dude just wanted to watch his Looney Tunes and drink his slushes. Draco Malfoy. I always felt like he wasn't a bad guy, just a kid being forced into a mess he didn't want to be in, even with how mean he acted sometimes. It always seemed like that was just an expectation for a Slytherin, or for a Malfoy. Alexei from Stranger Things 3. He was too innocent to die. John Wick. Dude just wanted to chill and be married and have a dog. A Baron Martel getting his eyes popped out. Poor guy. Shinji from Evangelion. Dude just wanted to get ice cream with his dad, even just once. But no. Dad has got to stick a 12-year-old mentally unstable boy into the body cavity of Monster and expects him to perform like a seasoned Marine/Delta/Ferret/etc. Poor Butters. Too pure for this world. Obvious spoilers for Harry Potter, Remus Lupin. Dude is a werewolf and can't get a job. So he then becomes a professor but gets outed. Has no job, so he has to be an agent for a werewolf gang. Not to mention that transitioning to a werewolf is painful. Plus he straight up freaking dies and doesn't see his son grow up. Thor. You gotta imagine this guy led a pretty easy life for 1500 years. Then in the course of 15 years, he loses his dad, mom, brother, sister, best friends, all of them, his hammer and his kingdom, twice. Being alive for so long, those 15 years probably felt like 5 minutes. I loved his character in Endgame. Maeve Willie from Sex Education. Her entire family abandoned her as a little kid and has had to rely on herself in order to survive ever since. Even after her mother returns, but is still on drugs, she sacrifices losing her family again so that her half-sister can be safe, only this time she's lost her mother for good. Something that's always grinded my gears is how Hades is portrayed in books and movies. The only thing he's guilty of is doing his goddamn job. He only complained once, when Asclepius was bringing the dead back to life. He was a jealous uncle to Heracles, lent him his dog, and he was pretty fair to Orpheus. Only bad thing he did was conspire with Zeus to get Persephone, and even still he lets her go most of the year. Aunt Cass in Big Hero 6. Most of the metas of the week on Flash, Betson Sousey, Griffin Grey, Becky Sharp, Weeper, Barbara Holland. Stranger Things Season 1. She was that first victim. Doofenshmirtz. His parents didn't show up to his birth. That's a big F. Literally every camper from the Percy Jackson series. They always gotta clean up after their parents and have to fight in wars and go on quests. Not to mention how they always gotta be careful about monsters attacking them. If Zeus and Poseidon just kept it in their pants, they could have avoided so many wars. Seriously, they almost ended the world all because they wanted to have sex with mortals. Eponine from Les Miserables, unappreciated ride or die who gets ignored for some spoiled girl singing about living in a castle on a cloud. Yes, I know the narrative timeline doesn't fit the timing of the song for the point I'm making. Gatsby. Darth Maul. If you watched Clone Wars you'll know, he lost everything and everyone he loved and was blinded by a need for revenge after his master betrayed him. Okay, so I never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender as a kid. I just finished the show a couple days ago. I really felt for Uncle Iroh and Zuko. Like holy hell, Zuko had such a good redemption and his character just gets better as the show goes on. Poor Uncle Iroh is just so wholesome it hurts and never loses that. Even with all the crap he has been put through. Glad I got around to watching this. Jack Marston from the Red Dead Redemption game says he never got to live a good life and became a killer just like his dad. Azla from Atla. I don't remember what his name was, but I do remember that he was born with glass bones and paper skin. Every morning he'd break his legs, and every afternoon he'd break his arms. At night, he would lie awake until his heart attacks put him to sleep. Who here didn't shed a tear when he fell down those stairs? Nina from Full Metal Alchemist, episode 2 I believe. The protagonist of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, a short story where the objective of the characters is to kill themselves to be free of the torment of a supercomputer. Magneto. Squidward. Everyone hates him, but I felt bad for him. Jesus. Died twice, abandoned by his father, betrayed by his best friend, and born in a shed. I had to red flowers for all Joan and for Ella class. I feel really bad for Charlie. Jake from State Farm. Jess Pinkman. Killmonger. My man was brought up horribly. Maximus Decimus Meridius. Dr. Doofenshmirtz. He went through a lot. His parents didn't show up to his birth. He was lefty for a whale. Among other things. Squidward from SpongeBob, Iroh, Zuko and Azula from Atla. Iroh lost his only son in a war and was shamed for retiring from that war. Zuko had an abusive father who said he was lucky to be born. Always pressured him to be excellent at everything and burnt and banished him. Finally, Azula was just so broken by the fact that her mother loved Zuko more than she feared her, and on the last season you can see how sad she was. The scene that makes me so sad is when she couldn't believe her own mother couldn't love her. People don't seem to remember him too much. But Michael Dawson, Walt's dad, from Lost is pure tragedy. The dude wasn't the best dad to his son. I'll give him that. But then he goes through a brutal divorce. His ex-wife wins custody of his son on the opposite side of the world. And his career starts to fail miserably. If that wasn't enough, his ex-wife gets diagnosed with terminal cancer and his ex-wife's new partner bolts, leaving him with the son he never knew. If that wasn't enough, our dude crashes on a mysterious tropical island with his son, who resents him, and is forced to fend for his life against all manner of weirdness. He repairs his relationship with his son, but then when they try to escape, his son gets kidnapped by the mysterious natives living on the island, and their boat blows up. Our guy starts working as a spy for these people, just so he has a chance to see his son again, and ends up accidentally killing 2 of his friends, and is forced to flee. He did a good job as a spy for the others, so they finally let him and his son off the island. Unfortunately, he loses custody of his son again and falls into a deep depression. Michael then tries to kill himself multiple times, but fails every time. He's then told that he has to go back to the island for one last job, even though he was promised that the deal was finished. So he goes back, and he blows up the freaking tanker, ruining everyone's chances of rescue, and he never even gets to see his son again. If that wasn't bad enough, my guy doesn't even get to move on to the afterlife with everyone else. He's stuck as a Force ghost on the island, whispering into people's ears like a weirdo. Goob from Meet the Robinsons. Steven Universe. Dude couldn't catch a break from the moment he was 13. Kept being a therapist for everyone, and he finally snapped when he was 16. I kinda want to give him a hug, but he has had enough crises for several lifetimes, so I probably won't break it to him that he is a TV show. BOTW Link. Everyone he knows is either dead or really old, and the one person who isn't is stuck in a castle with his worst enemy. Caesar in Kakyoin did not deserve it. Kevin when he spills the chili. Daddy Pig. The poor guy is fat shamed by his entire family. Who else doesn't recognize like 3/4 of the characters in this thread? Cancer Cell. Brooks. From The Shawshank Redemption. He loved his life and thrived in prison with friends and a purpose. Eventually his time ran out and he had to go. He was too moral to commit a crime to go back, plus he'd never get the same place, so it would never be the same. Screwed by the system, and has no idea how mean and unforgiving the outside world is. Even to a sweet elderly man like him. Showed no signs of depression in prison, but couldn't handle the situation that prison had put him in. I could go on for hours about aspects of Brooks that make this so sad. It is hands down the saddest movie moment of all time in my opinion. Damn. I'm actually sitting here writing a paragraph about a fictional character and sobbing. Props to the director and actor. Nebula. From the MCU. Girl saw half her planet slaughtered. Then was taken by the guy responsible. Then was forced to fight Gamora. The only person she could relate to at the time. And Gamora focused more on winning more than her sister. Parts of her body were replaced with metal every time she lost. Eventually she got too focused on winning her father's love. After Gamora ran from Thanos, she realized what was important, then ran. She had a grudge against anyone who wronged her, so her started a kill list with Gamora and Thanos at the top. Then when she tried to kill her sister, they reconciled and started to become close again. Then when she tried to kill Thanos, she was captured, and so was Gamora soon after. Gamora was forced to give up a secret location to save her sister's life, and because of that choice died. Nebula probably felt responsible for Gamora's death when she finally got close to her after all those years. I don't blame her for her angry issues. That's a lot of trauma right there. Skylar. In Breaking Bad second run through. First BB watch I thought she was the most annoying character, but after a second run through, I started feeling horrible for her. Balancing all of what Walt does / lies, baby, disabled teenage son, and the highest strung sibling character I've ever seen, Mary. Theon Greyjoy from Goatee, after he got captured by Ramsay Bolton. Locke on Lost. Such a tragic character.